it's okay to be different, and it's not a bad thing in business or in life, right? Which actually translated to our personal lives and said, okay, I understand why I'm wired a certain way and why you are a certain way. And that it is a complement to each other, right? So many times people want the same qualities and they think it can multiply. I actually argue that you have to have complementary skills in order to be able to grow and to the next level, both in business and life.
Welcome back to the Dental Economist Show with me, Mike Huffaker. Today, we have a real power couple in dentistry joining us, Dr. Anushka Gaglani and Dr. Abhishek Nagaraj. Dr. Raj and Dr. G are the founders and co-CEOs of Areo Dental Group, with 7 practices in the Chicago area. Areo Dental Group is owned and operated by dentists and patient-driven. In addition to building an organization focused on elevated patient care, Dr. G and Dr. Raj share their knowledge on social media to help further advance the industry. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you both here today.
Thank you. We're excited to be here. We appreciate you having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
I want to start you guys are partners in life, you're partners in business. I was listening to the Bill Newman group dentistry conversation that he had with you all. And I learned that Dr. G, you had finished dental school and actually started practicing 3 years, I think, before Dr. Raj. I'm curious, how did you guys initially meet?
Long story. The short of it is I was actually in India studying abroad when I was younger, and that's where we met.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. And, I think a lot of people look at having business relationships and personal relationships as potentially posing a challenge. What are some of the kind of tips or approaches that you both take that have allowed you to kind of build this entire life and this business together?
It's kind of funny. We get this a lot. We get people saying, what's it like to work with your spouse? I could never work with my spouse. And for me, I would not want to work with anybody else. I think we're both very aligned. We are rowing the same direction. There's no one I trust more. It's worked out very, very well personally. Abhishek, if you have anything to add.
When Anushka and I came together in 2015, we both, had practiced a little bit by then. When we came together, we were only engaged to each other at the time, slightly risky in hindsight when we opened our first dental practice. And we had to discover a lot of things about each other that we hadn't fully known before, right? Because we hadn't ever done business together. And we quickly realized by taking various personality tests like Colby and Culture Index, that it's okay to be different and it's not a bad thing in business or in life, right? Which actually translated to our personal lives and said, okay, I understand why I'm wired a certain way and why you are a certain way. And that it is a complement to each other, right? So many times people want the same qualities and they think it can multiply. I actually argue that you have to have complementary skills in order to be able to grow and to the next level, both in business and life.
And to add to that, one last point is I think, we really quickly learned that we had to have some sort of structure in terms of what are our skills and where should we apply them. So we got on the entrepreneur operating system and kind of created that accountability. So, we're partners in life, but then the business is the business, and we have to follow that.
Sure. Now I heard that mentioned, the entrepreneurial operating system. I looked it up online, did a little bit of research on it. I wasn't entirely familiar with it previously. And it looks like it's effectively a framework that you can apply to your business. Can you share a little bit more about kind of what it contains, how it allows you to focus, and the impact that it's had in allowing you all to build Areo?
Any operating system, our iPhones have an operating system, right? The Entrepreneur Operating System, or EOS, was founded by Gino Wickman. I think super smart guy. He's an EOR too. And yeah, it's based on Traction, the series of books that are based on Traction. I think EOS is all about structure and organization, right? It starts with the vision, and it starts with departments under the vision to essentially breaks it down into accountability and into an accountability chart where only one person can sit in one seat. They call that RPRS, or right person, right seat. And there's other elements in this. There's people, right? People who get it, who want it, who have the capacity for it. That's the right seat component. The right people is the core values component, right? Do they fit your core values? And then, when a business, a vision without structure is a hallucination, right? That's essentially the essence of us. And it's really helped us build the right structure, put the right people in the right seats, and measure them, have measurables, data points, whatnot, in the form of scorecards. And when all of these combined comes together, you gain traction in your business. So in a nutshell, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Anushka.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, what we really liked about EOS, is most companies have some sort of org chart. For us, the accountability chart was the important piece. And again, as Abhishek said, why it's structured differently is the accountability piece. There's no confusion about who's in charge of what. So when it came to the two of us working together, having that really helped us solidify which roles each of us were responsible for. So number one, we weren't doing the same thing again and again, and we're able to gain more traction. And number two, we weren't stepping on each other's toes.
I hear you guys talking about vision, to values, what the mission is, and it seems very apparent that you both put a lot of thought into this to really have clarity on what it is that you're looking to accomplish. When you're looking to partner with new doctors, what are some of the qualities that are most important to you? And how do you go about validating that they actually have those qualities?
I think, our core values are very, very important to us. And we were recently at a leadership conference. The speaker asked everyone, do you know what your core values are? Who thinks core values are cheesy? And, people giggle, a couple people raised their hands. And he said, I guarantee none of you here know what your core values are. And we're sitting in the back of the room. We were assigned, we're like, we know what they are. We actually take those very, very seriously. Because what we realized is the core values are the heartbeat of what our business is, because our business is a living, breathing entity. It's supporting all of these people. It's helping so many people, but it's also who we are at the core. So that is really how anyone that we bring into the company, we look at the core values. We do something called a people analyzer tool, and do they fit the core values or not? We make all of our decisions based on that.
I'll also add something to that. I think we like to hang out with people that are humble, hungry, smart, and resilient, right? Those are the people we want to surround ourselves with. And it's very easy, right? When you sit down and talk to someone, if it's a doctor partner, it is an interview at the end of the day for both parties. Are they humble about their accomplishments, or are they braggadocious, right? Like, that's the number one. Are they hungry for more? Are they just tapped out and they're just selling their business because they don't want to do that anymore, right? And are they smart? When I say smart, it isn't so much intellectually smart or cognitively smart. It's, are they emotionally smart? Are they mature, right? And are they resilient? Can they do the hard things and not quit when things get tough? Because invariably in the dental practice world, Mike, just as well as we do, things get tough a lot of times, right? There's so many moving parts to this.
Yeah, you must both be Patrick Lencioni fans.
Not your 5 dysfunctions of the team.
Yes. We do a book club in our revenue organization of Planet DDS, and we've done 5 dysfunctions, an ideal team player, and they're some of my favorite books because they're so approachable, and you're able to really take those lessons away. I like what you said about the core values as well. I think I would be one of the people that a decade ago would have been kind of like laughing or giggling when they talk about it. I thought it was just like things that you put on the wall and like people read it and go like, yeah, okay, that's cute, but like we don't really do it. I think one of the challenges that people have with core values is being able to kind of keep them front and center and ensure that you work them into the rhythm of coaching and leadership and kind of the meetings that you have. What are some of the approaches that you all do in order to ensure that kind of the core values are woven throughout your organization? And I'd also love if you don't mind, Dr. Raj, Dr. D, sharing what those core values are for Areo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll share the core values first. Humility, pursuit of excellence, committed, professional, reliable. That's one. Team-oriented and people-focused. And again, we really came up with these a few years ago. We really took our time to figure out what really mattered to us. As far as how we kind of, have the whole organization follow them, we also have the little poster on the wall that I don't know if anyone ever looked at, right? Gotta have that. But every single meeting that we have, we reinforce those core values and we reward based on the core values. When our practice leaders, we don't call them managers, we want them to be leaders. When they're hiring people, we talk about the core values and we have them put them through the people analyzer tool. So I think that's how we've kind of ingrained it.
No, I think spot on. We make it front and center and we talk about it every chance we get. So if you talk to our practice leaders at a meeting, we're talking about, hey, what are our core values? Let's shout people out who are exhibiting these core values. State of the company address every quarter. We're talking about our core values. Once we made it front and center, once we shared the vision like 4 times a year, once a year is probably too little in our opinion, right? You've got to bring it up at least 4 to 5 times a year for people to really start understanding at least what your 2 core values are out of the 5 and remember them. Just continue to, reward people based on exhibiting those core values and suddenly they get it. It's been a cool process.
I think dental practices can often end up kind of operating in their own kind of unique ways from practice to practice. And of course, you have different people and different personalities. How important is it to you all that there is kind of this level of consistency across the organization? And is there anything that you do to help the different offices feel connected with each other?
Yeah, I think, first of all, to help them feel connected, there are a few ways we do that. We are very, very heavy on CE. So we kind of join forces with some of our awesome vendors to help get some CE for our team. So they all come together. Everyone's invited from dental assistant to the doctor. And we do a core values speech. We do a state of the company address over there.
We also do weekly leadership meetings, right? And those leadership meetings also happen at the practice leader level, which any message from the leadership gets cascaded to the practice leaders. Practice leaders have their own practice level meetings, call them L10s in the EOS word, right? The urgency is a level 10. That's why it's called an L10 meeting. And then dental assistants have their own meeting. Hygiene has a meeting. I think everybody's got to have a touch point, right? At the end of the day. Otherwise, people start getting disconnected. Out of sight means out of mind. And then we have a doctor meeting as well. And then we have a mentorship program that we take our doctors through. And we also try to do quarterly reviews with our doctors in order to understand what worked well, what didn't. How do we need to pivot? How do we need to tweak some things? So between all of these impactful meetings and the state of the company address and the core value speech, there's a lot of touch points here.
Yeah, that's really great. Can you talk a little bit more about the mentorship program? I love that. I think the opportunity for people to have kind of ongoing professional development is so valuable. And oftentimes it is something that everybody talks about. Like we want to develop our people, or we want to pour into our people and help them to become better at what they do. And it can fall short, but I know that it's clearly something that you both are very passionate about. Can you share a little bit about kind of what the vision is for that and how it works?
Absolutely. I think our vision for dentists is to create $1 million dentists in a 3-year timeline, right? At the minimum. At the minimum, they should be hitting $1 million if they are able to change their mindset. So the first thing we do as a part of our mentorship process is they spend time with me and Anushka purely on mindset for the first 2 to 3 weeks. That is all we're doing. We're role playing. We're talking about mindset because they come from dental school. We're sometimes taught by old school professors with a certain mindset that worked for them 40 years ago, but doesn't work anymore. So that's the first thing we have to unravel from these new grad dentists. We call that ground zero. And then we take them through a tiered process of 6 to 8 months where they can do half mouth dentistry. And they're also doing some surgical extractions. They're doing comprehensive treatment planning, but they're executing on quadrant dentistry. 8 months to 18 months to 20 months, we're looking at more comprehensive treatment planning, They're doing Invisalign on top of that. We're also getting them certified and helping them through that. They're starting to do some wisdom teeth extractions. They are starting to take on more complex crown and bridge type cases. And then 20 to 30 months to 20 to 36 months, we're looking at it as, hey, now you've gained a lot of the skills to be a bread and butter dentist. Now let's sprinkle in some CE on implant dentistry, where at least you can place single teeth implant surgical placements before you start to go into the full arch stuff. We don't allow them to do full arch stuff within the 3 years. And essentially, after that, it's leadership, right? We can sprinkle in a leadership track where we can expose you to some P&Ls and have you understand what it takes to actually run a dental practice. Put some percentages in front of them, give them some leadership skills, learn to say please and thank you. I know it sounds like common sense, but a lot of dentists need to be told that you have to say please and thank you, because we work with a lot of women in the business, right? And then, of course, a partnership track that, some type of profit sharing or some type of equity sharing that we do. So this is a tiered, structured process we take our dentists through.
Wow, that's very comprehensive, very well thought out. That's an impressive program. Dr. G, when you put dentists into this program, and I think I had heard you mention before that kind of part of your approach with Areo is that you would partner with underperforming practices and really help level up over time the results and the patient care that takes place in those practices. And do you have any stories of it not working, or where somebody was resistant to change or was incapable of kind of shifting that mindset? And kind of what are some of the things when that happens that make it where like this isn't going to work out, or we need to make a change, or we need to do something differently?
Yeah, I think we've been very lucky. The dentists we bring on board, our associates, for the very most part, they're great, right? They understand, they're hungry, they come in. We ask them in the interview, is growth something you want? What are your goals? And they all tell us the same thing. They all say, we really want to grow. We want to become better dentists. We want to, big student loans, want to make money to be able to pay those off. But yes, we actually recently had a dentist who came to us as a new grad, and she'd been with us for, I want to say about a year, maybe a little bit less. And it just wasn't working. We tried everything. We tried mindset. We tried just all across the board. And it was very much a situation where there wasn't quality dentistry necessarily coming out, but a big focus on just how do I extract as much money out of patients as possible, which is not what we're teaching, right? That is not at all our focus. Our focus is, how do you do the best dentistry you can and upskill yourself? And the money just comes. But in her mind, there was no relationship building. So we tried. We really had checkpoints. We, tried to mentor some more. But it's funny, this new grad who's never been anywhere else told the manager she didn't like the direction the company was going in. And I'm like, this is the first company I've ever been in. And I think what it was, when we came down to the nitty gritty and we talked to her about it, it was that she didn't like that she was being held accountable to the standard of our company and the standards that she claimed she wanted to set when she joined us. So that was a big issue for us. And that was kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back, is we have standards. You said you wanted to abide by those standards and you don't, and that's okay. You will thrive somewhere else, but it's not going to be here.
Yeah, we hold people accountable, right? People come and say, like, I want all these things, but it's the action that matters, right? The difference between knowledge and wisdom is application. So if they aren't willing to apply that, what you said you would do and the action that you're doing, if there's a gap, right? Anushka, you've talked about this, that's a problem, right? And we hold our doctors accountable to what they said they wanted to do.
Yeah, I was talking to Dr. Emily Vanny from United, and we were talking about new grads joining the practice as associates, and some of the challenges were maybe no previous work experience or work history. Is that something that you run across, and do you maybe weigh a candidate or prefer a candidate that has had work experience, even if it's not in the dental space?
Yeah, I think often we do take on new grads, right? And we look at this as, okay, this is an investment for us. We're going to have to invest in you for 3 years. But to your point, Mike, it is hard because if they haven't had a job before, then they have nothing to compare to. And if things don't go the way somebody in their school told them or their professor told them, in their mind, it is not aligning with their future, right? We almost prefer at times where a doctor has had a bad experience in a DSO where they didn't get the support they need. And we've had doctors come and be in tears with the level of mentorship we provide and the touch points we have. They've told us they feel heard, they feel valued. Sometimes I feel like that's almost better, right? Like you have to find out what else is out there and then you have something to compare to.
Now, Dr. G, actually for both of you, I'd be curious, I've heard mentorship mentioned many times. Do you all have mentors that, you think of as being instrumental in helping you to become who you are today? Do you still seek out mentorship? Maybe share a little bit about some of the experiences that each of you have had over the years that have been particularly important.
Yeah, I think for me, as far as the dental field itself and practicing, I can't say that I've had a mentor in practicing. But as far as the business side, absolutely. There have been people all along the way that have been mentors to me that have helped. These are people, that we continue to seek out mentorship always and learning. One of the things that we are very, very big on, right? Pursuit of excellence is one of our core values, is how do we continue to become better? And we can't become better in a silo. It's not going to happen. So for us, it's always important to seek out mentors. And sometimes we have to pay for those mentors, but we get it's that adage, right? You get what you pay for.
Now, when you initially opened up your first practice, I think I heard one of you share that there wasn't originally an intent to be, to build a group practice. You recognized that there were two of you and you were like, hey, well, there's two of us, so let's at least have two. As you had decided to kind of scale beyond yourselves, and expand and open up the additional offices, and now you're at 7. What is kind of your vision in the future? Are you looking to continue to grow? Like, where do you find the satisfaction? Is it in opening new practices and the mentoring of the new associates? I'm kind of conflating a couple questions here, so I apologize for that. But I'd be interested in knowing, kind of for Areo, like if you were going to cast, like, what is our vision for the future? What would that look like?
So in a nutshell, the vision changes. I will tell you that. Like, we started off with a smaller number and then it became bigger, and in terms of practices, revenue, et cetera. So I'm sure it will change again in the future. We do have a revenue number in mind, but again, I know that that's going to change. What we are most interested in, I think our purpose is to help dentists and their teams live better lives. So we are really, really passionate about not just helping dentists get very good clinically, but also personal growth. We're big on personal growth. So as long as we can keep doing that, I think we're going to continue to grow. And it may not be number of practices, but I think that's just really where our passion lies. And we like to push ourselves, right? What can we accomplish? That's a big piece for us, is if it's not scary, it's not a big enough goal.
That is correct. I also would add, Mike, that we generally have put our growth plans or goals from where we started to where we are into 5 different buckets, right? Number one, I think all business owners or entrepreneurs go through this, right? There's the startup phase where you start up, you have to be scrappy. You don't have a whole lot of money to invest in team members. Your profits are small. You kind of graduate from that into the trouble phase, right? Now you're trying to scale up, but your revenue sometimes is outpacing your profits and your costs are going way higher than your revenue. That's the trouble phase. We all have to go through that. And then you come into the lifestyle phase. I will tell you, a lot of dentists probably settle at the lifestyle phase because you're making a lot of money, you have some systems, but it still depends on you. But the lifestyle is so good that you don't want to give that up. But that also means you're the dentist, you're in the chair, right? From there, you want to go into a high performance phase, but there's something else you have to go through before you do the high performance phase. We call that the messy middle, right? We all We all know that. The messy middle is where you don't have a lot of answers, but you know that you want to grow. And I think where private equity comes in is they buy it at the messy middle phase, and it's easy for them. They take it to a high performance phase and sell the business for $1 gazillion. And I think that's where most business owners or dentist entrepreneurs probably give up, is because they know that the messy middle could be 5 years long, it could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, right? And there's a lot of unknowns there. We started to look at that and we recognized that we want to go through the messy middle because we like the pressure and we like to do the hard things, right? And once we do that, we believe we can create that high performance business, which doesn't need us, but it only needs us for the vision and not for the day-to-day execution.
I like the way that you frame that. I hadn't heard it positioned in that way before. It makes a lot of sense. And so if you're at the lifestyle phase, you're relatively comfortable, right? So fear is probably a big deterrent for moving to that next step, because that messy middle piece is going to create discomfort and it's going to really press the limits and maybe even result in a decrease in satisfaction for certain individuals, or potentially less earnings as you have to reinvest more into what you're looking to do and the growth that you're looking to take place. Yeah, that's a great way of framing that. When you look at the, I guess, 2024, I've spoken to a lot of folks, and for many, it was a pretty challenging year. There's a lot of inflationary pressures. Reimbursements were down. In many cases, there were patients that were not choosing to do elective procedures, or they, had to kind of tighten up their belts a little bit. And all of these different kind of pressures from multiple sources resulted in many groups and organizations, having a bit of a tough time. How did you think about 2024? And, what type of year was that for you?
So for me, 2024, I think for us, probably, I don't know if Abhishek, if you would agree, 2020 and 2021 probably were the more challenging years in terms of patients were coming through the doors. It was insane demand, as everybody experienced. But I'm sure, again, as everyone experienced, it was much harder to hire people. So for us, 2024, it was actually, we really had a great year. I think it really set us up. 2025 is going to be an exceptional year for us, I think, because of all of the steps we took in 2024 to set ourselves up.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I think 2024 was all about positioning ourselves for the next level of growth. We reinvested like 80% of our profits back into the business and hired a lot of people, right? A lot of great people who can really have some skill sets that the existing business didn't have at the time. So that was a lot of investment. It was stressful and it was scary as heck, but what the hell? If you aren't scared, like Anushka said, right? We aren't thinking big enough. And we know we'll see a return on that investment in about 2 to 3 years from now. We're confident of that. But 2025 is all about expansion and execution on some of the investments we've already made.
Yeah, and Dr. Raj, when you talk about investing in more hires and bringing more people on, have you felt the market loosen up a little bit where it's become less challenging to find great people to have join your team?
I don't know if the market has loosened up, but I will tell you we've probably leveled up in how we recruit those people, right? I certainly think 2022 was like a big struggle year. 2023 was too. Perhaps more so than 2021 and 2022, right? There are a lot more resumes that we do see, but sometimes you don't see qualified candidates making it through your pool. But we've gone outside of dental to say, okay, we don't need you to have dental experience as long as you have a great personality, you're humble, you're hungry, you're smart and resilient. We'll bring you on. And we've focused very heavily on internal training and processes. And how do we ramp anyone who's doesn't quote unquote have a dental background to be awesome at dental. So we've done a lot of that personally. So maybe it's felt easier for that reason. Anushka, would you agree or add?
I completely agree. I think we've just gotten much better at hiring. We're not necessarily hiring for skill anymore. We call it skill versus will. So we would rather hire someone who has the will to learn than someone that's got the skill but doesn't have the personality.
Dr. G, what are some of the things that you think are working in the dental industry's favor today? Like, what are things that make you bullish about the future or excited about what's to come, whether it's new technologies or anything, just any trends in general that get you thinking like we're really well positioned to continue to be successful in dentistry for a long time?
I think it's such an exciting time we're in right now, right? We have AI coming out. This is insane. We can read x-rays. We have new grads who we can give them this technology, and instead of having to guess as to whether there's caries, they're just like, there's caries. We have robots coming out, right? I'm super excited about that with, the implant robots, endo robots. There's a lot coming. So I'm very, very bullish on that. I also think as far as, I know there's a lot of fear about consolidation, but really the way I look at it is when we team up together, right? We're a dentist support group. So when we team up together, I think we can keep dentistry in the hands of dentists and really come out ahead.
Yeah, I think Anushka stole my second point, which was the piece around consolidation. That actually excites us, right? Because there are people who don't understand dentistry come into the field and actually try to, scale it. There's screw-ups at an opportunity for us, right? Like that's how we look at it. So when we do it well and lead the business and lead the team members properly, and we have a clinical understanding of what the doctors need and their psyche and their mindsets, we are super bullish on dental for the next 10 years, I think, 10, 15, 20 years. I think dentistry is awesome. It's at the right spot, the right place, right time. For whoever wants to do it, it's available for anyone, I think.
And if I could add one more point, I think, the way that science is moving, right? I think people are really becoming more aware of how the mouth affects the rest of the body. It used to be a thing where it was just, I only go when it hurts, but I think people are becoming slowly more and more aware of it. So I think we'll see a lot more of those people start coming in for preventative work.
And AI is making it so that we're going from reactive to proactive, right? From generic to personalized, right? Retrospective to prospective, right? Like that's the part that really excites us.
Yeah, I think that education about the kind of mouth-body connection is important. And when you think about still the kind of, really large percentage of the population that does not get preventative care, that's a really massive opportunity for the industry over time. And if there can be a higher level of education and understanding as to the importance of it, it's a lot more patients that really need to be treated that are not being treated today. Maybe turning the question around on the other side of things, and you can answer it in any way that you'd like, but it could either be if there was something that is in dental that's broken today that you really dislike, that you just wish that you could fix, what would it be? Or maybe like, what do you think some of the biggest challenges facing the industry are? Either way.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, the biggest challenge right now is we talked about skill versus will. We find that a lot of people we hire who have dental experience that come into our business don't really know a whole lot. I feel like there's no standardization, or they're taught the wrong thing. They can't do a simple breakdown. There are a lot of broken pieces there. And unlike with a dentist, right? I can take a dentist out of dental school and they can do a filling. Maybe there's different quality to the filling, but they can do a filling because they've gone through formal education. Whereas with some of the other roles, there is not necessarily formal education. So it's much harder to ramp them up and get them to understand, which is why everyone I feel like is working in silos. Every group is figuring out their own training, rather than what if there were a system to train these people to make it easier so, they can go anywhere and have at least the basic skills.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I also think the way we bill in dentistry to insurances is broken, right? The RCM piece, I know RCM is a buzzword these days, but I think it's really broken and it needs to get better. I know there's some companies out there trying to auto post into your ledgers and all that, but the fact that so many of our softwares are not open, right, to others, and they're kind of a closed system, I think that's pretty primitive, right? I think that really needs to change. And personally, it bothers me.
I agree completely. And there's just still so many repetitive tasks that have to be done in dental practices, and like frustrations that come up, whether it's claim denials or, just kind of having to to do these postings over and over and over again. And it leads to a lot of work that probably could be removed with some better systems in place and maybe some better cooperation with payers and everybody else as well. But, I think there's definitely opportunity there for sure. When you think about scaling your organization, would you ever consider any centralized services? And is there a point at which and maybe you're already offering them today, but what is your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, personally, I think it's important, right? Because that way, at the practice level can really focus on patient care. I think that's crucial. We do have some centralized, not all of our functions are centralized. And I think that the direction we'd really want to go, and really leave the practice to take care of the patient and do amazing treatment plans and get amazing treatment acceptance at the practice level. And deliver the care, of course, right? But everything outside of that should be in a centralized, highly efficient, highly trained team. It's much easier to train a 20% team as opposed to like 200 employees to do all of these things, right? So I definitely think that it's super vital.
And do you guys do some centralized billings right now? Is that the function?
Our billing is more at the practice level, but we do insurance verification. A lot of it's centralized. We also outsource. We have some virtual assistants outside the country, overseas. We have a centralized call center. So those are some pieces.
Billing is coming. We like to right now have the practices in control of that because we are very big also on point of service collection. So we want them to be accountable for that. But as far as, over time in the next year or so, we're going to be more than likely adding billing.
I want to add that we have built some of our own technology inside. It's actually Anushka. She took the initiative to build a management system for all of our processes to sit in one place, for license alerts to people when it's expiring, things of that nature, where all the documents can be centrally uploaded. So we've taken the time to actually build some of that. I think that's, in a sense, takes away the fact that you don't have to sit and centralize those things and one person doesn't have to do it. Technology can just do that and people at the practice level can just do that. So we're still continuing to iterate and innovate as a company. We're passionate about that. We're thinking of building our own billing platform overseas now. Those are some cool things that are kind of in the pipeline.
Yeah. And Dr. G, when you think about patient experience and kind of patient expectations, maybe how they align in dentistry versus like with the ease of which it is in the rest of the world to kind of interact with different companies, what are some of the areas of focus for you all at Areo to really deliver great patient experience?
I think the patient experience, it starts even before the first phone call. What does your website look like? Is it easy to make an appointment? Can people figure out what it is that sets you apart and your practice apart from the practice down the street? Right? So start with that. When they're calling in, what kind of experiences, we call them patient care ambassadors, what kind of experience are they giving? Because that's the first point of contact. They haven't even met the doctor yet. I had a friend, and he told me that his dentist retired and he didn't even know. And he called the practice. This is, of course, a non-dentist. He called the practice and he didn't realize she'd retired and asked them to call him back so he could schedule an appointment. A week later, they still haven't called him back. He's very frustrated, understandably so, right? So that can't be broken. We have to make sure that the front is answering the calls, that they're converting the patients, they're bringing them in, and that there's no bottleneck as far as how long it takes to get them in for an appointment, right? I'm on some of these Facebook groups and I see dentists so proud. I'm booked out for 3 months. That is not something to be proud of. That means that you have a severe constriction in your schedule and something needs to change there. So getting them in, and from there, I think even the dental system's handoffs, we don't have patients wandering around our practices. Where's the bathroom? I don't know. There's someone who's that back there. I have no idea. People are always handing them off. And then, of course, the doctor, right? Our doctors, I think we had talked earlier about mentorship and onboarding. We're very, very, very big on patient education and communication. And the first probably month, that's all we go over with them is how do you build that relationship with a patient? Because if a patient doesn't like you and if they don't trust you, they are not doing anything with you. And then, of course, billing, right? Why do people get angry? The number one reason is money. If we don't give them an accurate estimate, they're never coming back. There's scam artists, this and that. You're going to hear all these kind of things. So we're very big on making sure that they're doing the treatment plans correctly and collecting point of service. We don't do any of this like pay half now, pay half later, because inevitably there will be something about it because they don't want to. Sometimes people don't want to pay. I don't like this or I don't like that or the crown doesn't fit. So I think those are the main pieces that we look at as far as patient experience.
Any other thoughts on that, Dr. Raj?
I think you nailed it. That's why we have a saying within the company, money in hand before bird goes to tooth is the best way to maintain trust with patients, right? Because once they've paid, it's no longer a thing. When people think, I don't make money a thing, I say to them, no, you're actually making money a thing by telling them, you can pay $500 now, you can pay $500. So every appointment they come here asking for money, every time it's creating a little bit of distrust with the patient, right? Let's take care of that and fully focus on their care after that. I think that's gone a long way for us, at least.
Yeah, I follow both of you. We're all connected on LinkedIn, and you've started to create and put more content out there. Was this a kind of deliberate decision? Did you discuss it ahead of time and say like, and is there a goal to it? Like, what was the purpose? How did you determine that this was a path that you wanted to pursue?
I think yes, it is deliberate, right? We've been working in silence for 10 years. We've been building all these great processes within the business, and we've helped quite a few people ramp up. We've recruited several dentists. But I think in today's world, it's not enough if we just do the job at a high level. People have to know about it, right? In order for us to build our business to the next level, for us to create more leaders, in order to bring in better talent into the business and have higher impact, we have to put ourselves and our company's mission out there. So it's definitely a more concerted effort.
I was going to add, we were both full-time practicing clinicians until the end of 2022. So bandwidth, we always wanted to kind of, share our thoughts, but it was the bandwidth just wasn't there. And I think another thing is, people are fearful. I was personally very fearful. What do I have to say? Why would anyone want to listen to me? But the more we've kind of gotten out there, the more people are wanting to hear from us, which was really, you want to hear from me? Okay. But that's where I kind of started leaning more into that.
Yeah, it's, I would imagine it has to be, and I think Dr. Raj, you just kind of touched on this, impactful for recruiting and for hiring. It really lets somebody get to know you ahead of even making the decision that I want to apply for this role or that this is an organization. And it kind of will, I think, result in a pre-screening function where somebody that has the opportunity to understand kind of your perspective, your mindset, what you're thinking about. If they don't want to be that person to be held accountable, they're going to say, you know what, let me go to the next opportunity and maybe I'll just pass and not do that application. Have you noticed any kind of increase in the caliber of applicants or maybe even the number as a result of the efforts of what you all have been doing?
Absolutely. We almost made a promise to ourselves that we aren't going to pay any more recruiting fees to all these recruiters, right? Because ultimately, recruiters are getting people from the same place as we are, right? Instead, let's go ahead and build a brand that actually has a true purpose and not just where we're saying things and they come in and they have a bad experience. I think that would be bad too, right? We want to stay true to like who we are. We want to show some other people, take them under our wing and actually help create and generate wealth for them and their families. Because when we sit and train one person, make one person a leader, you aren't just making one person a leader. You're impacting their kids, their grandkids, all of that, right? So I think that's what really gets us out of bed now. It's not about the money, right? I have to say it wasn't always like that. We were in survival mode for the first 6-7 years. We had big student loans to pay off. But once we did that, and once we started seeing the impact of what we could do when we're not in the chair, I think things really changed for us.
Dr. G, do you ever worry about running out of ideas? And do you have kind of an approach that you take in order to ensure that there's always new content that you can be creating or thinking about?
I can't say I've had that fear yet because we're still so new to the content thing, but I think the industry is ever evolving, and I think there are always going to be new challenges. So because of that, I don't think that there's going to be a shortage of content. And, to add to that, I think there are so many different ways of, I really don't like this phrase, but skinning the cat. But there's so many ways of skinning the cat that, whatever we say, if it doesn't resonate with someone, there's another group doing it the way that would resonate with them. So there's just so many ways of doing it. I don't think that there's going to be a shortage.
It's funny you asked that question because I've certainly thought about that. I'm like, what if I just don't have anything to say at a certain point? What am I going to do, right? And what I've realized is it's such a big audience out there that you can take literally anything from your life that that you did today or yesterday or like 5 years ago and put that out there, and there will be somebody that it resonates with, right? So that makes me feel better at the end of the day.
Absolutely. We'll wrap up here in just a couple of minutes. I want to be conscious of time. Maybe for both of you, what are you most excited about as you enter 2025?
Yeah, I think I'm most excited. I think we mentioned it earlier as far as all the pieces we put in place in 2024. I'm really excited to see the results of that come to fruition this year. We have a lot of exciting things planned.
Yes, I can't wait for those things to unfold, to Anushka's point. And also, we have so many good people joining the business. We can't wait for them to grow so they can create way more impact than just the two of us sitting there, right, and trying to create impact. So that really excites us too.
Awesome. And do you have anybody in the dental space today that's like you think is doing really great stuff as well that you kind of look up to or that you follow along with that you would recommend other people check out too?
I do engage with Dr. Brad Hughes. I haven't met him personally yet, but we're going to. He's doing some super awesome stuff. Seems like a really nice guy and supportive. And so we've engaged a lot with each other. He excites me. And I think at a bigger, I won't say bigger is probably not the right word. I like what Heartland does with their doctors, right? I really like what they do. Yeah, I think those are two.
Non-clinicians as well, right? Like we just, we're talking to Amol Nirgudkar from Patient Prism, amazing person. So impactful in the industry. We have Brian Kaleo is another one. So definitely some people that I would say, keep an eye out for because they're really helping progress the industry.
Awesome. Where can people find you all? Are you on other social media sites? Is it LinkedIn? What's your website? Share the contact info, please.
Yeah. So our website is areodental.com, areodental.com. We're both on LinkedIn. We both also have Instagrams. My handle is Dr. So that's Dr_ontoothpreneur. ENTOOTH Preneur.
And my handle on Instagram is Dr. Dentagram. Simple, Dr. Dentagram. And of course on LinkedIn, like Anushka said. So love to chat with some people.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you both so much for joining. Really enjoyed the conversation and we'll continue to follow along your journey.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate it.
The Dental Economist Show is brought to you by Planet DDS, home of Dental OS. To find out more about how cloud-based dental software by Planet DDS helps unleash dentists and their staff to focus on patient care, visit www.planetdds.com. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes by following wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you for listening.